After 55 years of marriage, Arthur and Rose thought they had experienced every possible surprise life could offer. But as they danced to Rock With You in their modest living room on their anniversary, they had no idea the King of Pop himself was about to make their celebration unforgettable. The small flat on Victoria Road in Camden had been home to Arthur and Rose Thompson for 42 years. Tonight, their living room was decorated with silver balloons and photographs spanning 5.5 decades of marriage. From their young wedding day in 1968 to great-grandchildren's christenings and everything in between. Arthur, now 82, adjusted his vintage bow tie, while Rose, 79, smoothed her favorite lavender dress, the same one she'd worn to their 25th anniversary. Their children had offered to throw them a big party, but the couple preferred this intimate celebration, just the two of them, like so many quiet evenings they'd shared over the years. 55 years, Rosie, Arthur whispered, using the nickname he'd called her since their teenage years. Can you believe it? Rose smiled, her eyes still sparkling the way they had when Arthur first asked her to dance at their local church social. Feels like yesterday and forever at the same time. They had weathered everything together. Raising 4 children, Rose's breast cancer scare 15 years ago, Arthur's stroke recovery, the loss of both their parents, financial struggles, and countless small victories that make up a lifetime of shared love. After their simple anniversary dinner of fish and chips, the same meal they'd shared on their first date, Arthur walked to their old record player and selected a song that had special meaning for them. "Remember our dance lessons?" he asked with a mischievous grin. "How could I forget?" "You had 2 left feet for months," Rose laughed, but her eyes grew tender. "But you never gave up on us." 7 years earlier, when Arthur finally retired from his job at the Postal Service, he had surprised Rose by signing them up for ballroom dance lessons. "We've got time now," he'd said. "I want to learn to dance with you properly." It became their weekly ritual, something that kept them young and connected. As the opening notes of Rock With You filled their small living room, Arthur extended his hand to his wife with the same gallant gesture he'd made thousands of times before. What happened next was pure magic, not because of perfect technique or elaborate moves, but because of the undeniable love that radiated from every step. Arthur led Rose in a gentle sway, occasionally spinning her carefully, mindful of her arthritis, but confident in their practiced rhythm. Rose closed her eyes and let Arthur guide her, feeling the same butterflies she'd felt on their wedding day. The years melted away as they moved together, their bodies remembering decades of shared dances at weddings, anniversary parties, quiet evenings when a song would come on the radio and Arthur would spontaneously ask her to dance. "You still make me feel like I'm 18, Rose whispered against Arthur's shoulder. "You still look 18 to me," he replied, meaning every word. They danced as if no one was watching because they believed no one was. In their minds, they were the only 2 people in the world, lost in Michael Jackson's romantic melody and 55 years of accumulated love. But someone was watching. 2 streets away, Michael Jackson sat in his black Range Rover, returning from a quiet dinner with friends. He had been staying at a nearby hotel while working on a charity project with a local children's hospital, and he'd taken to driving through residential neighborhoods in the evenings, finding peace in the ordinary rhythms of family life. As his driver, Marcus, navigated the quiet streets, Michael found himself drawn to the warm glow of apartment windows, glimpsing moments of everyday life that reminded him of simpler times before fame complicated everything. That's when he saw them through the large window of a ground-floor flat, illuminated by soft lamplight. An elderly couple was dancing with such pure joy and tenderness that it made Michael's breath catch in his throat. They moved with the careful grace of people who had learned each other's rhythms over decades, every step a small declaration of enduring love. "Marcus, slow down," Michael whispered, mesmerized by the scene. "Do you see that?" As Michael watched, he realized the couple was dancing to his own music. He could see the man's lips moving, singing along to Rock With You, and the woman's face radiant with happiness. They weren't performing for anyone. This was love in its purest form, unguarded and authentic. "Pull over here," Michael said suddenly. "I need to see this closer." Marcus looked concerned. "Michael, we shouldn't intrude on a private moment." "I'm not going to intrude," Michael replied, his voice soft with emotion. "I just want to witness this. They're dancing to my song. but they're making it theirs. It's beautiful. Michael stepped out of the car and walked closer to the building, staying in the shadows but able to see the couple more clearly. The woman wore a simple lavender dress, the man a crisp white shirt and bow tie. Silver anniversary decorations were visible around the room, and Michael realized he was witnessing something sacred, a 55th wedding anniversary celebration. Watching them dance, Michael felt something profound stir in his heart. This was why he made music. Not for the charts or the fame, but for moments like this when songs became the soundtrack to real love, real life, real human connection. As the song neared its end, Michael made an impulsive decision that would surprise even him. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "Jenny, I need you to send flowers, lots of flowers, and champagne. The best we can get delivered to." He looked up at the building number. "And I need a card." "I'll tell you what to write." 25 minutes later, Arthur and Rose were settling into their favorite chairs, still glowing from their dance when the doorbell rang. Who could that be at this hour? Rose wondered. Arthur opened the door to find a delivery man holding an enormous bouquet of silver roses and a bottle of vintage champagne. "Delivery for Arthur and Rose Thompson. Anniversary congratulations." "There must be some mistake," Arthur said, confused, but the delivery man checked his clipboard. "No mistake, sir. There's a card." Rose joined Arthur at the door, and together they opened the small envelope. Inside, in elegant handwriting, was a message that made them both gasp. "Dear Arthur and Rose, I happened to witness your beautiful dance tonight, and I wanted to thank you for reminding me what true love looks like. Your 55 years together is an inspiration. May you have many more dances together. With admiration and best wishes for your anniversary. Michael Jackson." "This has to be a joke," Rose whispered, but her hands were shaking as she held the card. "Michael Jackson? The Michael Jackson?" Arthur looked at the delivery man, who just smiled and handed them the champagne. "All I know is that a very nice gentleman arranged this delivery about 40 minutes ago. He seemed quite moved by your celebration. Congratulations on 55 years. After the delivery man left, Arthur and Rose stared at each other in amazement. "Do you think he really saw us dancing? How is that even possible?" They walked to their window and looked down at the street, but saw only empty sidewalks and parked cars under the streetlights. The next morning, Rose called their daughter, Catherine, telling her about the mysterious flowers and champagne. "Mom, are you sure you're not making this up?" "Michael Jackson?" "I have the card right here, love." "I'm looking at it." Catherine decided to investigate. She called the flower shop whose card was attached to the bouquet. "Oh yes," the florist confirmed. "That order came in last night from Mr. Jackson's assistant. Very specific instructions. Silver roses for a 55th anniversary. He was quite insistent that they be the most beautiful arrangement we'd ever made." Catherine nearly dropped the phone. "It's really true, Mum. Michael Jackson sent you flowers." Word spread quickly through their family, then their neighborhood, and eventually to local media. A reporter from the Camden Chronicle called asking for an interview about their celebrity anniversary surprise. "We don't understand why he'd notice us," Rose told the reporter. "We're just ordinary people who've been blessed with a long marriage." But Arthur had a different perspective. "Maybe that's exactly why he noticed us." Sometimes the most extraordinary thing is ordinary love lasting 55 years. 3 days later, Rose was watering her small window box garden when a familiar black Range Rover pulled up to their building. Her heart nearly stopped when she saw the unmistakable figure of Michael Jackson stepping out, wearing his signature fedora and sunglasses. She called to Arthur, who came rushing to the window. Together they watched as Michael walked to their building's entrance and rang their bell. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson? This is Michael Jackson. I was wondering if I could speak with you for a moment." With trembling hands, Arthur buzzed him up. When Michael appeared at their door, hat in hand and smiling warmly, both Arthur and Rose were speechless. "I hope you don't mind the intrusion," Michael said gently. "I couldn't stop thinking about your dance the other night. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen." "Please come in," Rose managed, her voice barely a whisper. As Michael entered their modest living room, the same space where they danced just days before, he noticed everything. The family photos, the silver anniversary decorations still hanging, the old record player where his music had played. 55 years, Michael said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. That's incredible. In my world, relationships that last 55 days are rare. How do you do it? Arthur and Rose sat on their small sofa while Michael took the chair opposite them, and for the next hour they shared the secret of their enduring love. We dance, Rose said simply, not just literally, but figuratively. When life gets hard, we remember to move together instead of apart. We laugh every day, Arthur added. Even when there's nothing funny happening, we find something to smile about together. We never stop being curious about each other, Rose continued. After 55 years, Arthur still surprises me. Michael listened intently, taking in every word. Your dance the other night, watching you move together to my music, it reminded me why I write love songs in the first place. You were living the lyrics. Actually, I have something for you, Michael said, reaching into his jacket. He pulled out a small velvet box. This isn't much, but I wanted you to have something that represents what your love means to people like me who witness it. Inside the box were two matching rings, simple gold bands engraved with musical notes. These are from my personal collection, Michael explained. I had them made for myself, but I think they belong with a couple who truly understands the music of love. Rose began to cry. We can't accept something so precious. Please, Michael insisted. You've given me something precious. You've reminded me that love songs aren't just entertainment. They're the soundtrack to real life, real commitment, real partnership. Your dance validated every romantic song I've ever written. Would you mind, Michael asked hesitantly, if we danced together? All three of us? I'd like to experience what I witnessed from outside your window. Arthur immediately stood and put on Rock With You again. Michael offered his arm to Rose while Arthur took her other hand, and together the three of them danced in the small living room. But this time was different. Michael sang softly as they swayed, his voice filling the room with the same song that had brought them together. Rose cried tears of joy, Arthur beamed with pride, and Michael felt his heart fill with a warmth he rarely experienced in his superstar life. After Michael left that day, Arthur and Rose's story spread far beyond their neighborhood. Videos of their original dance, which neighbors had secretly recorded through their window, went viral, along with the story of Michael's surprise visit. The couple received thousands of letters from people around the world, sharing their own love stories and thanking Arthur and Rose for showing that true love still exists. Within a week, their local community center was flooded with elderly couples asking about dance lessons. We want what Arthur and Rose have, one 70-year-old woman told the instructor. The waiting list grew to over 200 couples, all inspired by the story of two people who had kept their love alive through movement and music. Marriage counselors across London began incorporating dance therapy into their sessions after hearing about Arthur and Rose. Dr. Elizabeth Harper, a relationship therapist in Camden, started offering Thompson sessions, named after the couple, where struggling partners would learn to reconnect through simple movements together. Arthur and Rose proved that physical connection through dance can heal emotional distance, she explained to her patients. Local nursing homes began hosting weekly dance events for their residents, many of whom had given up on romantic gestures years earlier. At Sunset Manor, just 10 minutes from Victoria Road, 89-year-old William asked his wife Margaret to dance for the first time in 15 years after seeing Arthur and Rose on the evening news. If they can do it after 55 years, we can certainly try after 62, he whispered to her as they swayed to Rock With You in the recreation room. Michael, profoundly moved by the ripple effect of his encounter with the couple, made an unprecedented decision. He established the Arthur and Rose Foundation, dedicated not just to supporting elderly couples, but specifically to keeping music and dance alive in the lives of seniors. The foundation provided free record players, music collections, and professional dance instruction to retirement communities across the UK. 3 months after their first meeting, Michael returned to Victoria Road, but this time he brought his entire band. They set up in the small courtyard behind Arthur and Rose's building and performed an impromptu concert for the entire neighborhood. Children pressed their faces against windows while elderly residents came out in wheelchairs and walking frames to listen. But the highlight of the evening was when Michael called Arthur and Rose to the makeshift stage, and the three of them danced to Rock With You once again, this time in front of 200 neighbors who cheered and cried simultaneously. The local church where Arthur and Rose had met as teenagers decided to honor them by establishing weekly golden dance nights for couples married over 25 years. Father Mackenzie, who had known the couple since they were young, said their story reminded him why marriage was considered a sacred bond. In a world where relationships often don't last months, Arthur and Rose show us what happens when two people truly commit to growing old together gracefully. Every year on their anniversary, Arthur and Rose receive flowers from Michael Jackson's foundation. Even now, years later, the tradition continues, ensuring that their love story remains honored. But more than flowers arrive each year. They receive videos from couples around the world who have started their own anniversary dance traditions, all inspired by a simple evening when love was witnessed and celebrated by the king of pop himself. They still dance every week, wearing the musical note rings Michael gave them. Their children and grandchildren have all learned the story, and it's become family legend about how great-grandma and great-grandpa's love was so powerful, it stopped the king of pop in his tracks. Arthur and Rose learned that sometimes the most ordinary moments become extraordinary when witnessed by the right person at the right time. Their simple anniversary dance became a reminder to the world that lasting love isn't about grand gestures or perfect romance. It's about choosing to keep dancing together through all of life's songs. Michael learned that his greatest achievement wasn't selling millions of records, but providing the soundtrack to real love stories like Arthur and Rose's. Their dance validated his belief that music has the power to bring people together and celebrate the most important moments in life. Today, Arthur and Rose still live in their small flat on Victoria Road. Now in their late 80s, they still dance every week, though more slowly and carefully than before. When asked about their secret to 55-plus years of marriage, Rose always says the same thing. We never stopped hearing the music in our love, and when Michael Jackson noticed us dancing, he reminded us that our ordinary love was actually extraordinary. Their story became proof that love songs aren't just entertainment. They're celebrations of real human connection. And sometimes when you're dancing to one in your living room, thinking no one is watching, you might just inspire the very person who wrote it to believe in love all over again. The dance continues, the music plays on, and Arthur and Rose remain proof that the greatest love stories are often the quietest ones, shared between two people who never stop believing that every day together is worth celebrating. What dreams have you been told are impossible? What would you attempt if you had Arthur and Rose's commitment to never stop celebrating love? How can we all be more like Michael and notice the extraordinary moments happening in ordinary lives around us? If this story reminded you that true love still exists and inspired you to cherish the relationships in your own life, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to remember that the most beautiful moments often happen when no one is watching. Subscribe and ring that notification bell because we have more incredible stories that prove love, kindness, and human connection can change the world in the most unexpected ways. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most important dance you'll ever have is in your own living room, and you never know who might be watching and learning what real love looks like.